Hi, welcome. This is the caddyinfo.com Cadillac Forum Hangout. We do these on Thursday night. You can find us on caddyinfo.com, caddyinfo.com. You can find us here on Google Plus Hangouts on Thursday night. I have with me from the forum Texas Jim,
Good evening, everybody.
or Platinum Jim as I like to call him, after his recent purchase of a new Platinum DTS. We may have Cadillac Jim join us if we can get his attention. We may have our friend Tim Carroll from Carroll Cadillac pop in if we can get his attention. And who knows who else will pop in. Our friend KHE may pop in if we get his attention. And who knows who else. I do have the Q&A turned on. If you have questions or answers for us, we did have someone pop in with an answer one week that we were talking about a topic and they told us what the right answer was. Thank goodness. And so if you have questions or answers, please feel free to hit the Q&A there in the service and let us know what you think. So you've got the Platinum DTS for another week. When's the first big road trip?
Well, it might be starting tomorrow.
Now, you had one issue that you were conversing with your dealer about, which is what part of the seats in the new 2011 Platinum DTS are actually cooled.
Right, they were just like the ones in my 2006.
Yeah, so they didn't realize that, and they were giving you some other information. And so, have you had a chance to converse with them on this topic?
Oh yeah, I took printed documentation from the service manual that they use. I
Yes.
printed it all off and took it over
Wait,
there and invited him outside and asked him would he please read it.
now, this in fact is a very even and measured way to communicate with, whether you're communicating with dealer personnel or anyone else, is to be, in other words, you need to be no more emotional than necessary, but to be an educated consumer is what I like to say. We ran into this a lot in healthcare. Is you're really good to be an educated consumer, and I'm not saying go nuts. I don't think there's ever a good reason to go postal during a consumer conversation, but you need to just give them a measured but insistent response, right? Like in your
Exactly,
case, you were showing him detailed documentation of exactly how the feature was supposed to work, and that your feature was in fact not working in that manner.
correct,
And to them, it's no hair off their back, because it's covered under warranty. They're just
correct.
getting more work out of it, right?
Yes, sir.
So win-win for everybody. Cadillac's happy because you'll be and they want your car to work the right way, and you'll be a continuing fan for Cadillac. The dealer's happy because they fill up their shop with more work, and you're happy because you get the car to work the right way.
Right. So I'll probably be taking it over there the first of the week.
But you said big road trip tomorrow.
Well, the bottom part of the seat's working, so
Well,
that way
so are you headed to
it
South
keeps
Texas?
it'll keep my credit cards cool, you know.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, I need to go down and see Mom. I hadn't seen her in several weeks.
Oh, good, and hopefully she's
Uh,
still doing well. But
yeah, one of my other brothers was by there a couple of days ago, and she's doing great.
good, good. We
But
keep hearing more rumors about the ATS-V, which we think is going to have the twin-turbo 3.6-liter engine that we see in the CTS-V Sport. Maybe a tuned version of that, maybe just the same one. I kept hoping that the ELR was going to have the bigger battery, and then they brought it to us with the same size battery and the same range as the Volt. So I'm not holding my breath on the ATS-V, although I do believe my estimate is still 475 horsepower. I think it's coming with 475 horsepower. And part of the reason for that is the aftermarket tuners are actually getting more horsepower than that out of the V Sport engine now. And so I believe that engine is well capable of 520 horsepower with just tuning. And then if you actually put a bigger intercooler on it,
Right.
slightly larger turbo, then that engine may make 550 horsepower. But I'm projecting 475 horsepower for the ATS-V. Do you think they'll bring it with the 430 like the CTS-V Sport? Do you think I'm right, or do you think that we'll see it with more?
I'm hoping it'll be more.
More than 475?
No, more than the CTS V Sport.
Oh, yeah, as long as it's more than the 430, you'd be happy?
Well, it need to be 450. It don't need to be
Not
435.
431.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
now
you can play with the exhaust system and get 5 horse.
the CTS V Sport is actually hitting right into the 12s for a quarter mile. It does better than you would expect for 0 to 60 time and quarter mile time. And I think a large part of that is that 8-speed transmission that they picked up from Aisin, which is a Lexus company. Now, do you think that's part of what the delay on the? My conjecture has been that part of the delay on the ATS-V and the next generation CTS-V is the transmission's not ready yet. They're holding their horses until they can get that 8-speed or 9-speed GM transmission out. That's what I think's holding the whole show up. Now,
I kind of agree with you, but I think they're shooting themselves in the foot. That development work should have been done a long time ago. They knew they were going to do it, so why wait and have to
why is it taking so
postpone the
darn
car
long?
release?
Because
Why wait? It just don't make sense.
Something went wrong. I don't know what went wrong, but something went wrong. It didn't flow the way they wanted it to, because they never would have bought this 1-year transmission for the V Sports, right? I mean,
Right.
going out to buy the 1-year transmission from Aisin has to have not been the plan. And so I'm thinking, but I think the new Corvette has the new GM transmission in it, so I think it's ready to come to market. It may not be ready to make it in the production numbers they need, but I think it's ready to come to market. So if we do see, now I still think the CTS-V, the third generation CTS-V, is going to have the LT4 engine, and I think it's going to make 700 horsepower. I think it has to now because Dodge just came out with the Hellcat for 700 horsepower, right?
Yeah. It's SAE at 707.
And so, and I know that's not a luxury car. I get that, but the pricing is going to be similar for that and a CTS-V, right? A Challenger SRT.
It's going to start. The starting price on the Hellcat for a base car is 60.
Yes. So I think it is a direct competitor, like it or not, to the CTS-V, which is going to be at 75, right? People are going to shop them side by side. Do I want to get a Hellcat? Do I want to get a Corvette? Do I want to get a CTS-V?
Yep.
And so, like it or not, now the CTS-V is going to be lighter than the Hellcat. It's going to corner better than the Hellcat. But I think now you have to bring 725 or 750 horsepower.
Yep, you really do.
So now, on the other hand, the 725 horsepower CTS-V would be an amazing vehicle. I mean, the 707 horsepower is amazing for the Hellcat, and God bless them for doing that, because that means that the horsepower wars are good and truly on, right?
Yeah.
And it's a supercharged V8. So now, where do you think you would throw down? Where would you throw down the gauntlet? So if the Hellcat's is 707, you want to outdo it with your Cadillac, because your Cadillac's going to cost $10,000 more, $15,000 more.
It needs to be 750.
750 to give you that margin, even though it will. I assume it will be a little bit lighter. I can't get them to give me specs quick like a bunny on how much the Hellcat weighs.
Then at the minimum, then it needs to be 7.25, because it all comes down to the numbers. people are not going to take their calculator and, well, this one weighs 400
Power to
pounds
weight
less,
ratio.
so the
Yeah.
pounds per horsepower is such and such, and the gear ratio is so and so, and the coefficient of traction is, they're going to say who has the most horsepower.
Right.
You
And
know how people are.
the Hellcat's got a nice electronics package. It's got nice brakes. It's got nice. I still can't tell how much it weighs, but I think it is going to be a competitor. I think that's what the magazines are going to look to, right?
Yes.
Is that they're going to pull the and run them side by side, just like they did with. You remember when they would run the comparisons between the 300 RT and the CTSV?
Yeah.
Now the Hellcat's doing it starts at 60. It's got an 8-speed automatic, 707 horsepower, 20 miles per gallon, 0 to 60 in 3.5, and the quarter mile in 10.8, with a top speed of 199. So now 3.5 is quicker than the current generation CTSV. The current generation CTSV generally tests at 4.4. Now that 3.5 though is estimated, so I don't know what people are actually getting. That's what Chrysler said. And so Cadillac said something similar to that, but the magazines generally tested at 4.4 for getting it off the line. They're still not going to share with me how much it weighs.
Hmm.
But it'll go 199, bless her heart.
Well, that's faster than I want to go. 175.
Well,
175, plenty fast.
now they're claiming this is the most powerful muscle car ever. And I guess that's got to be true for a production car, right?
For a production car, yes, it is.
The most powerful production car until the next one comes. But I'm looking at the Dodge sheet that tells all about it, and down below that on a GM site they would have the details of it. On the Dodge site they do not. They'd have the detailed specs. On the Dodge
Yeah.
site they do not. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think I agree with you that I think that means the CTSV's got to bring 725 to 750 horsepower.
Yeah.
If it weighs 200 pounds less, then it would win coming and going
Exactly.
until the next tune of the Dodge.
Until the next tune, yeah.
But what a wonderful time we live in, right?
Yes, and it makes me wish I was still working.
When 556 horsepower is no longer good enough, 625 horsepower is yesterday's news, and 707 horsepower is this week's interesting story
Right.
in a production car, unmodified production car.
Yes, unmodified.
Now, Dodge may only make 1,200 of those Hellcats this year. At first they said we're going to make as many as we can sell, but then they said that may be as few as 1,200. So I don't, this is kind of the problem Corvettes run into is everybody talks, yada, 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 but then the number of people who actually show up with their checkbook is different than all the people talking, right?
Right.
Like everybody kept saying, we want a bargain basement Corvette with no features, just the engine and the tires and the interior, and sell us that. And that was that fixed roof coupe that the Corvette did for a while. And you know who showed up to buy one? Nobody. Because when people go to buy a Corvette, they want all those LT3 features, right?
Right.
They want the magnetic ride. They want the heads-up display. They want the leather seats. They want the convertible. They want the sunroof. And so they don't just want what's the cheapest I could buy a car. People think, well, we want Corvette to be the car for the working man and have one that only costs $30,000. But that's not Corvette's role.
Nope.
In the scheme of these days, that's a Camaro. If you want a $25,000 car, that's a Camaro V6. If you want a $35,000 car, that's a Camaro SS. And you get a lot of car for that amount of money. And then when you're ready to get a $60,000 car, well, that's right in there where the Corvette starts, right?
Yes, sir.
And then when you're ready to move up with the big boys to the CTSVs, then they start at 75. or to
Yeah.
the supercharged Corvette, and it's up at 100 to 120.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're set in your DTS Platinum. We're still missing the ATS-V. We're still missing the CTS-V. Now we're suddenly missing a Escalade V Sport, which I would love to see. Put the supercharged V8 in the Escalade.
Yeah.
We're missing a ELRV, which I thought we'd never see because Cadillac's always said you either get a Platinum or you get a V, one or the other. You can't have both. Although they kind of broke that rule with the XTS Platinum V Sport, right?
Right.
It's arguably, yeah, of course, the V Sport's not V. It's something in between, but it
Right.
certainly is, and that makes a nice car with all the platinum features and the 410 horsepower version of the twin turbo 3.6. Now, do you figure they're getting about 80 horsepower aftermarket tuning of the twin turbo 3.6, which turns it right at a 500 horsepower engine? Do you figure the XTS version makes exactly the same thing?
Uh,
In other words, it's being artificially tuned to preserve the front wheel drive transmission or all wheel drive transmission on the V Sport. And so if you untune it, then you'd open up the high end performance. You might not want to thrash the four wheel drive off the line, but certainly you'd open up the highway performance, right?
yes, you would.
Because 80 horsepower is about 20% in that car. So that's noticeable.
Oh, absolutely.
A 20% boost in horsepower, you're going to notice when you're driving the car. And the difference between a 500 horsepower car and a 400 horsepower car, I think, is easily noticeable.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You and I are car guys, and so we're going to be kind of tuned to, if, I my 96 North Star with the 295 or 300 horsepower, depending on which day it was, right? I could tell the difference between cold weather and warm weather easily in terms of how much pickup it had and lunge it had and so on. And of course, my supercharged North Star, similarly, you can tell the difference between a cold day and a warm day, but it's a pretty good jumper either way. But the difference there is not, is 10 or 15 horsepower between a cold day and a warm day, right?
Right.
And so I think you and our friend Jim, of course, he's tuned to things that I would have said no human being can tell. Like when he went and picked up his car and driving it out of the service bay, he could tell that they had changed the oil with conventional oil instead of synthetic.
Yeah.
And I would have said no, but he was right. He could tell. He could instantly tell from the way the engine was running that they had used the wrong kind of oil in the car. So.
So,
And we chatted last week about the new president of Cadillac and how we're going to be able to tell or not whether he's being successful or not. So we'll still have to kind of hold our breath to see what results. I did see a full line Cadillac commercial the other day. I need to go look for that on YouTube, and I'll get it up on the site. But it actually showed, here's the ATS, and it said this is the ATS, and here's the CTS, and it said CTS and ELR, and so on. It was a full line commercial on TV.
hmm.
And so I'll have to go check I'll check the Cadillac YouTube channel
Because I
and
haven't seen
see
that one.
what's up with that. I may watch more TV than you do some days.
I watch very little.
Yeah. I've got a couple of shows that I follow on television. I couldn't even recite them for you, although I'm pretty good about remembering which day
Well,
to show up.
I have a DVR.
Well, yeah, we have
I,
that, but I'm not good about using it. You're probably good about keeping up with yours, so.
well, no, you just set it and forget it.
Yes, and I was using it all the time, and then I stopped watching TV for a while because I had too many other things going on, or
Yeah.
the shows went off sequence or whatever. But now I'm kind of back in the habit of watching a little bit of TV. Oh, and the other thing I did is my wife got a better TV setup in the bedroom. But the problem I had before is our bedroom TV wasn't HD, and there's a Velocity only runs on HD on FiOS, and so and I call it the car channel because they're always showing these car reality shows
Yeah.
or car redo shows
Right.
and I'll put that on if I'm busy studying something or doing something else on the iPad. I'll put that on just to listen to while I'm doing something else.
So,
And so I watch more TV now because if nothing's on, I can always watch something on the car channel.
so,
And I
but
think it's called Velocity.
the various shows that I do like to follow, I just have them on. They call it series record.
I absolutely agree with you, and that's what I need to do too. And that's what I was doing before is I picked out all my shows and told it to record and then time shifted them to when I could remember to sit down and watch them, right? But
And
the
then when
problem I've got now right now though is I forgot that I have a DVR. So that's just my fault. That's no question. I did get a nice note back from Crest Cadillac here in Plano, and Crest Cadillac is going to be a sponsor again this year for the Caddy Info Forum. So welcome back to Crest Cadillac, and big shout out to Mike and Darren there at Crest Cadillac. Darren's the sales manager, and Mike, of course, is the general manager for Crest Cadillac, and I do very much appreciate their support. And I look forward to continuing to echo their ads and news and getting in some more test drives with them as the new cars come along. I'd love to have an ELR out, but I think the buyers of that may want no miles on it whatsoever. So so we may not see an ELR around for a test drive. I liked that story that we posted where the guy had got the ELR down to 50K brand new through, but he's in a state that has state tax, and so he was counting his tax rebates in his 50K
right,
instead of, he paid 62.5 out of pocket and then added up tax rebates, which won't work for everybody because not everybody's paying that much in taxes and in a state that has taxes and so on. Here
right.
in Texas, we're tax free. We don't have income taxes. We have sales tax, and happy to have it.
Well,
But
I'm happy to have it, but we accept it.
well, I think that's an equitable way to spread taxes. In other words, you got to pay for government, and sales tax to me is a fair way to do it. That's why I say I'm happy. But yeah, I
Well,
get that we have to pay for the government we receive, but as Will Rogers said, thank God we don't get all the government we pay for.
boy, you got that right. Now
Yeah,
I'm a good bit older than you are, but I can remember when Texas had no sales tax, and I was on a road trip with my dad,
yes,
and I don't know, I was about 12,
yes,
13, something like that. While he was putting gas in the car, he told me to go in and get us some chips, some cokes, and stuff like that.
things.
So I did, and I got up to the counter to pay for it. Of course, now remember, I was only 12 or 13. That was a long time ago. And I got up to the counter to pay
Was
for
there a dinosaur at the counter?
it. No, he was outside. He was on that sign. It was a
The
white sign
Dino,
with a
yeah, the
green
old.
dinosaur.
What gas station was it that used to have the dinosaur on the sign?
Sinclair.
Sinclair. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. So
White
you got up to the
sign.
counter. You're only 12.
Oh, so I get up to the counter to pay for the stuff. And of course, I know that this is a nickel and this is a dime. Of course, nothing's that way anymore, but that's the way it was then.
Yes.
So I knew how much it should be, and
Yes.
he's charging me 2 cents more than what it should be.
Which was a big deal.
Well, it was to me. I thought he was trying to cheat me
Yes.
because I knew it should have been like 35 cents, and he said it was 37 or whatever it was.
Yes.
And I thought he was trying to cheat me. And I asked him what the other 2 cents was. He said that was tax. And I said, what's tax? Now he said sales tax. And I said, what's sales tax? Because we didn't have it in Texas. I'd never paid sales tax.
Yes.
And so we went back and forth a little bit, and I finally paid him. And I asked him, I said, well, where does the sales tax go to? Well, that goes to the governor. Why? And I asked him point blank. I said, why does the governor get part of my money? I don't know him. He don't know me. Why should I be giving him money?
At 12.
Yeah, I'm 12 or 13. So anyway, I finally paid him. He said that's just the way it was. That was what I had to pay. So I did. But went back out when we got in the car, I was telling Dad about it, and he was laughing, and then he tried to explain tax to me, and it still didn't make any sense. Why should I pay tax on something I buy? I'm paying for it. Why should I pay an additional amount for nothing? I'm not getting anything. I'm just giving my money away. And it didn't make sense to me. Plus, taxes still don't make a lot of sense to me. I don't agree with it. I think the income tax should be done away with and go to a flat tax. But that's another story. That's not anything about Cadillac. Well, yeah, that would make Cadillacs cheaper.
There
You
you
don't have to
go.
pay sales tax.
Now, and cars actually pay a reduced sales tax
Right.
because they pay part of the sales tax and not the other part. So in some ways, they've already got the benefit of a little sales tax, deal, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you don't pay as much sales tax on a car as you do on ordinary merchandise.
Right.
So,
Now so how did we get started on that part of on that story?
oh, you're talking about the guy with the ELR with his state income tax.
Yes. Now oh, uh, and that was back to the original point I was trying to make is thank you again to Crest Cadillac for sponsoring caddyinfo.com, the forum and the blog. And the other thing I would like to do is invite other Cadillac dealers. Now, Crest Cadillac here in Texas is our local sponsor, and to be fair, we'd like probably have them as our North Texas sponsor. But if you have a Cadillac dealer away and you would like to have more national visibility or like to see your advertisements appear in the Caddy Info forum, then please click on the advertising links there on Caddy Info or contact me directly, admin@caddyinfo.com, and I would be happy to quote you a rate to become a sponsor. And basically the way that would work is I'll email, we can discuss it, make sure we get exactly the package you want, and I will email you an invoice that then you can turn over to your finance department and they can mail us a check. And so you don't have to be any more high tech than that. And in terms of exposure, by the thousands of views, I think we can offer you a very, very competitive rate for a very focused market. Because if you think about who's coming to caddyinfo.com and you think about who you want coming into your showroom, then I think you would see that we would be bringing you a very focused market. Okay, so I'll get off my free advertising for Caddy Info, and with again thanks to our friends at Crest, and so if you're a Cadillac dealer and you would or a Cadillac related merchant and you would like to advertise on caddyinfo.com, then please contact me directly. And now let me give another commercial also for our Hangouts, and let's talk a little bit. So, Jim, do you want to give the short spiel about how people could be on the Hangout? Are you busy doing something?
No.
Jim? I'm a poor user at home, and I would like to join the Hangout, but I don't know anything about Hangouts. So, what do I got to do? And how do I do it?
Go to Google Plus.
What is Google Plus? I got Google. Do I just put a plus sign?
Once you go to Google,
Go to Google.
I believe there's a link right there in the toolbar for
When you
Google
go to
Plus.
Google, up in the upper right, there's an apps link. And the very first app under the apps link, there's a G with a plus sign, and that's Google Plus. Google Plus is kind of Google's version of the Facebook or Google's version of a social network. So, okay, so now I went to Google, the search engine, and I clicked on the upper right on apps, and I got to Google Plus. Now what do I do, Jim?
Mm, I haven't done it in a long time. Mine
Join
set up.
Google Plus.
Mine does it automatically.
Set up your Gmail account and join Google Plus. Now, once
Okay.
you join Google Plus, here's what you're going to have to do, and this is a little bit tricky. So here's what you have to do. After you've joined Google Plus, then while you're on Google Plus, logged into Google Plus, while you're on Google Plus, what you need to do is there's a search up in the top. And in the search, you want to type in Caddy Info, CADDYINFO, because BruceNunleyCaddyInfo.com is my Google Plus ID, BruceNunleyCaddyInfo.com. Caddy Info is also my Twitter ID. If you ever need to contact me on Twitter, it's at Caddy Info. So once you go to Google Plus, you set up your Gmail account, you get a Google Plus account, which is all free. You search in Google Plus for Caddy Info and you'll find Bruce. And then what you do is add me to your circle. You may make a new circle called Cool People and put me in it, or you may make a new circle called Caddy Info and put me in it and Jim in it. But circle me. And what that does is I'll get an alert that you've circled me. And if you comment on my page or comment to me that you're a Caddy Info fan, then I'll put you in the invite list for our Caddy Info Hangouts. So you could actually do that right now in real time if you chose to, if you're watching along. You can actually do that right now in real time because I actually do monitor our Google Plus page while we're talking about other things. But that's what you do is now on the Caddy Info forum, we normally put a link to the event page where you can join the event if you're invited, and we put a link to the video so that you can watch the video from the forum if you choose to, and you can ask us questions. So if you want to be live in video, let's keep talking about that. If you want to be live in video, what I do is I have a separate little webcam that sits on top of my monitor, and I bought these USB headset. Mine are wireless because I kept breaking the wires. But I got this USB headset, wireless headset, and we use the headset so that we don't get a feedback loop from other people talking, and then you hear it, and then it feeds back through your microphone. Now, what Jim actually does is Jim's using a laptop that has a camera built into it. And so Jim's using a laptop camera. So it doesn't, where you don't have to have really expensive stuff. Like my camera is a Logitech camera that cost about $94. Jim's camera came free with his laptop built into the laptop. The headsets cost a variety of, as much as you want to pay or as little as you want to pay. You can get headsets for $5 or $10 that work just fine. I use these for gaming as well, and so these are actually $90 or $95 headsets. But I wanted the whole over-the-ear, da-da-da. Okay, so once you get a video camera and headsets, you can participate live and hook me on Google Plus. You can participate live, and I'll invite you to our Hangout. Now, if you don't want that, you can actually participate in the Hangout on your cell phone. I did that one night where there's a picture of my late father and my second son. I actually did that one night where I participated via the iPad or the iPhone on the Hangout while Jim hosted. You can't host a Hangout with your iPhone, but you can participate. I think the same thing with the Android. You can participate with an Android phone. So if you actually had a cell phone, you're out at the beach, you want to join the Hangout, there's a way to do that. Now,
Yeah, I did it once or twice on my cell phone.
If you have no camera and you have no phone and you have a computer, and you want to participate, you can actually participate via text as well, where on the Q&A panel on the event page, you can actually type in questions for Jim and I to respond to, or you can type in answers to questions that Jim and I have been discussing. And then what this will let us do is mark the video for what section we were talking about your question or your response. Jim, am I missing any topics about how people can join us?
I don't think so.
Now, it's not hard at all, and what we try and do is give everybody an opportunity to talk. You don't have to be a Cadillac expert, you just have to enjoy talking, which I think is, talking about Cadillacs or automotive topics, which is the qualification I have. Jim, of course, has a great deal of expertise and experience in car repairs and maintenance, and has owned many more cars than I have, so he has richer stories. But we're happy to have anybody on if you want to talk Cadillac. That's what Caddy Info is. It's a fan site, and that's what we try and do with the Hangout. Is anybody that wants to talk Cadillacs is welcome. So Jim, when you get ready to go on a road trip, what do you take with you in your car? We almost got Cadillac Jim in. I saw him for a second.
Okay, in my car, of course, I have to take the wife's wheelchair.
And the wife.
And the wife, yeah. No point taking a wheelchair if I don't take her. And so far, I've never left her at, service station or anything. I still
you only did that once.
Always get her. Yeah, it wouldn't be safe for me to do that. If I ever did that,
you'd be safer selling her Cadillac than you would be leaving her at a rest stop.
Yes, I would. But
so you bring the wife, bring the wheelchair.
I've got a little special pillow for her because she likes to nap while we're driving sometimes. Yes. And I've got a little special pillow.
It's like a neck pillow or like just a small pillow?
No, it's just a little small one. It's about a foot square. And it fits perfectly right in between the headrest and the door pillow there, the pillow between the front door and the back door. It fits perfect right there, so she can turn a little bit and lay the seat back and lay her head over there on that pillow. And she sleeps real good.
Good.
Of course, I have to turn the XM radio down then.
And not go too fast.
What?
And not go too fast.
Oh, that don't bother
her. Yeah, my wife wakes up generally if I go over 100 miles an hour. Not that I would, but if I go over 100 miles an hour, then that's enough attitude that it wakes her up.
Here a few years ago. Near a few years, 4 or 5 years ago, we were out in Mexico, and they had just repaved this road. And it was about 80 miles long and brand new asphalt. It was just as smooth as the top of a table. And there was no traffic. I mean, no traffic. You didn't meet a car ever, 10 minutes or less. And so the speed just gradually kept creeping up. I still had a long way to go before we were where we needed to be that night so that we could do what we wanted to do tomorrow. So we'd kill too much time that day. And she woke up. She was asleep. And like I say, the speed gradually kept creeping up.
Yes.
And she woke up and raised up and looked over at the speedometer and then just laid her head back down and went back to sleep. But I was sitting on 135.
Well, there you go.
That's when she woke up.
I guess you figured if you're going to kill her, then she was going to sleep through it.
Yeah, she was just going to go ahead and sleep through it. But anyway, we take our own pillows with us. We have the pillows on our bed we like, and I've got silk pillowcases on them where they're nice and smooth. And anyway, that's just the pillows we like, so we take them So even when we're in a motel, we use our own pillows.
Yes.
And obviously, clothes and stuff like that. And because, we don't run around naked too much.
Uh-huh.
And then we've got our drug bag,
Yes.
various,
Well,
Advil.
let me go back and limit my question to what car stuff do you bring with you? Like, do you bring extra brake fluid? Do you bring extra
No,
coolant? Do you bring extra
no,
anything?
no. I usually I've got a little tool bag that has assorted, small wrenches and screwdrivers and pliers and wire cutters and needle nose and, things like that in it. I
Yes.
always take that. I always
So
take
kind of
that.
a portable car bag.
And I always, well, oh, that reminds me. Thank you. I need to go get a box of fuses, assorted, 5, 10, 20 amp fuses, a little box to carry in the center console, just in case. I've never needed one, but it's always nice to have one because if you got out somewhere and, you know, you blew a fuse on your brake lights or the air conditioner or whatever, it'd be nice to have another fuse to put in it. Of
Yes.
course, that might immediately blow too if you don't fix the problem that caused the first one. But
Well, yeah, sometimes it will and sometimes it won't. Or sometimes
right,
you can put a 15 amp fuse as a replacement for a 10 and get by until you can figure out what's wrong.
yeah,
Sometimes not. It's
but
much
yeah,
better sometimes it's better to do without that cigarette lighter until you can, instead of setting the car on fire because you didn't fix the short, you just replaced the fuse.
that's correct. But
I think the rule in the Navy was you could replace a fuse twice, and then if it blew twice, then you had to fix whatever it was. You
right,
had to take the thing offline to repair.
yeah,
I think that was the rule that we used, but it's been a
but
while
but
since I was serving.
but as far as uh, now, if I was going to be going out across the desert in the summertime, I might consider I might consider carrying a gallon of coolant with me. I almost always, when we're traveling, unless we're just going down to East Texas or something, a little short 500 or 600 mile trip. But if I'm taking a long trip, I always carry a case of water.
Yes.
And I usually keep it in the back seat. I've got a little Coleman flip top cooler that will hold 12 drinks and one full bag of ice. So I usually put my 12 drinks in it, put the bag of ice in it, and then take a couple of bottles of water and kind of, you know, push them down in the ice and then close the lid. So that way I've
Yes.
always got cold water. I've got cold soft drinks. I've got ice if I just want to chew on a piece of ice. I've got my little tool bag and I've got OnStar and my cell phone. So if anything is out of the range of me being able to fix it with my little tool bag, I'll just push the blue button and tell them to send a flatbed and take it to the nearest town. I'll rent a car.
Yeah, which is the whole point to having OnStar is for support of the thing. Now, in that circumstance, would you pick up a rental car and continue the trip, or would you just check into a hotel and wait for your car to get serviced, or it
Well,
just depends?
it depends. It depends on what's wrong with it.
Right.
If they're gonna have to keep it 2 or 3 days,
Yes.
I would probably just get a rental car and use that town as my base. So remember, we don't ever plan trips. We
Oh,
just
and come
go.
and go from that town. I get you. But that's the problem is if you were 3 days away from here, it doesn't make sense to come home for 3 days and then drive 3 days back to get your car.
Correct. No, I would just make that my base and mess around within say within a
Orbit.
thousand miles.
1,000 miles over there.
Well, you can do that in one day
Yeah, if you hurry.
if you hurry. Yeah.
Or if it was Tennessee.
What?
Or if it was Tennessee. I
Well,
had
I
one
can.
nice trip through Tennessee where I got some good traffic on the western edge of Tennessee, and I think ran the whole length of the state. In good time.
Yeah, I might have to go to South Carolina here pretty quick.
Well, I
Uh,
missed my trip to South Carolina because we had bought the regional uniform and supply, the store, and so I ended up flying the family out to South Carolina, but I had to stay here to run the store.
so
So I missed my Carolina trip. I'm gonna have maybe I can get to go late in the year,
that call just as our video conference started,
right? Which is
that
why we
was
were 5 minutes late starting. But go ahead.
that was my wife's brother, and her other brother lives just outside of Charleston, and he's not doing real well.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So we might have to make a trip to South Carolina here in a week or two.
Visit quick while you can still visit.
Exactly, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's probably good thinking.
Uh,
Well, any other topics we ought to cover tonight, Jim, or you think
well, I really wanted to get this thing tuned before I took a long road trip, but
No, I disagree with you.
well,
I
that's what I was
think,
fixing to say. I could take a long road trip and get a baseline,
yep, that's what I was going to say.
and because from here to South Carolina, I always drive it the same way. I mean, the weather would vary it, of course, but in normal conditions on the highway, I drive about the same, all the time.
Yes,
So if I drove from here to South Carolina and back without it being tuned, I could record all the various parameters and uh, average speeds, average miles per gallon, stuff like this.
yes,
And then after I get it tuned, I'll be taking another road trip. And even if I'm not going to South Carolina, it'd still be driving on the same kind of highways and driving the same. And then compare that. I'm not expecting better gas mileage by having it tuned. I just like the way it runs better.
yes. Now, this was my argument, though, is I would like to see you do this road trip untuned, and then if you once you get it tuned, you'll be more familiar with it and can better appreciate what the difference was with it tuned.
Right. Because see, I had drove that 2006 about oh about 9 months when I had it tuned, 9 or 10, maybe ten
Yes.
months when I had it tuned, and in that 10 months, I already had almost 20,000 miles on it.
And so pretty familiar with it.
Yes, and it was noticeable. It wasn't anything fantastic, that'd blow your hat off, but it was noticeable. But the main thing the tune did was not necessarily to the engine, it was to the transmission. Make the
Yes.
transmission more responsive, make it shift better, make it shift quicker. Uh, it would make it where it would downshift back into a lower gear at a higher speed than what it was stock. And, things like that. And,
Yes.
and it just made the overall car, or it made the overall experience of driving the car much more enjoyable
Good.
because the car would instantly respond to your right foot. It didn't delay, it didn't hesitate, it didn't sit there and think, well, are you really sure you want this to downshift? And
Right.
a lot of the newer transmissions, you can give it gas and it stays in the gear that it's in for a second or two before it downshifts.
So it doesn't startle you if you're a point A to point B driver and you stomped it down that it doesn't leap out from under you. So I understand why they detune the responsiveness, but I am glad that that's available to us, right? That you can tune it back in to be as responsive as you prefer it to be.
Right. And the one thing that's puzzling me right now, I've sent an email to the guy that done the original tune on my other DTS, but I haven't gotten a response back from him yet. And on the EFI Live website, it lists 2006 to 2009 as being able to be tuned.
But not 1011.
But it lists 2006 to 2011 that you can tune the transmission.
Yes.
You know, the TCM.
Right.
But on the ECM, the engine control module, it only lists 2006 through 2009.
And you're not sure why for yet?
And I'm not sure why. That was my question to him.
Yeah.
Can you tune this one? And if you can't, why not? Because as far as I know, and I haven't pulled my airbox yet and took the ECM out. But as far as I know, there really wasn't many changes from 2006 to 2011.
But we're going to find
So,
out. But they're
oh, I'm
either
gonna
going
find
to come
out.
back
Yeah.
and tell you it'll work, or they're going to come back and tell you one. Now, I didn't look to see what may be a reinforcement for your thinking is. Let's go look and see what HP Tuner says. If they
Okay.
say there's a difference between the 10 and 11 versus the 9,
Okay.
or if they say it spans right too, we just may switch you over to HP Tuners this time.
Yeah, I've already spent all the money on EFI.
Yeah, but I've got the gadget and I've got credits, and we could work something out.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd
You
pay
know,
for the
you could
credit.
hold the gadget until you got it set the way you need it, and then you don't need it in between.
Right.
I'm not turning my car all the time right now. I'm happy using it the way I've got it set up, and so we could figure that out. But I'm sure if the one works with it, then the other works with it. But it may be that they
Are
didn't
you
update their
looking?
website.
Are you looking at HP tuners now?
No,
Oh, okay.
should I be?
I'll,
Let's do
I'll,
that. HB Tuners, Cadillac, DTS. Speed limiter, supported vehicle list, HB Tuners. Okay, Cadillac for the DTS, it shows the '06 to '09, just what your site said,
huh.
not the 1011.
Okay. Look at transmission. It might have a separate section for transmission.
No, this one doesn't. It just has vehicles.
Okay.
Interesting. So that suggests that there is something different with the 10 and 11.
Well,
Now
I
they
have.
do support the SRX, the North Star in 12. No, I'm sorry, they went to the 3 liter in 12. So they don't have any Cadillacs in. They don't have the Cadillac North Star for 10 or 11. No, they have the STS with the 4.6 for 10, but not 11. But I guess 10 was the last STS,
I think it was.
and then they pick up the XTS in 13 and 14. Now you think the 10 and 11s were the same as the 9, and it just took them the 2 more years to sell them?
Nah, I was thinking that there would be no reason to change the ECM because they knew it was a discontinued car
Yeah.
unless they ran out of the ECMs and they stuck something else in it, and nobody has bothered to
Yeah, the very last
open
of
it
the
up.
G platforms. So still a mystery. We'll have to see what they say.
Yeah, I'll have to pull my airbox and pull the ECM, see what
Well,
see
yeah,
what it is.
they
whether it's an E67 or 65 or whatever it might be.
Cadillac's not above doing that, and they've done stuff like that for, even though we say this year's the same model as that, and the consumer might not be able to tell the difference, they're not above putting a whole different computer in because they were running that computer on some other model.
Right,
And so they got a deal on them and put them in both the cars. But
right.
generally, they won't do that because you have to there's so many things you have to redo, right?
Yeah. You can't just take
Drawing,
a program from
you got a ton of
one
drawings to
ECU and
redo.
stick it in another one.
Yep, yep.
But
So,
you would only have to reprogram it one time, and then you could use it on all the cars made in 10 and 11.
yeah, but the proof of the pudding's in the tasting too, though. That you haven't tried to hook up your current tuner to see if it would recognize your new car either.
Right. Yeah, I've got to get a
And
credit
so
for it. I've got to buy a credit
we'd
for
have
it.
to
I'm having
try
credit.
that to see. But yeah, hopefully they'll respond to your email and let you know what's going on with that, and then we'll find out some more about the tuning. Our friend Tim Carroll may know some more about that too. And so,
Yeah, he
because
might.
he's retuning the cars up there, so he may have some experience in that regard. So we've come to the end of our 1 hour of Caddy Info Chat. We saw Cadillac Jim pop in for a second and then disappear. I don't know if he was going to try and use his phone and join us, and then it overpowered his cell before I saw his face fade in, and then he disappeared again. But hopefully we'll see him again next week. And a shout out to him for trying to join. Tim Carroll, shout out. Our friend KHE, Kevin. Vinny from Cadillac Country Club is going to join us one of these days. He was out hiking last week and he's been too shy to stop in, but hopefully he'll join us. And he's obviously a big Cadillac fan. Any Cadillac fan, we'd love to have you come on. You don't have to be a caddyinfo.com regular. If you like to talk about Cadillacs or you enjoy the Cadillac lifestyle, then we would love to have you on the program and visit with you. Texas Jim, any last thoughts?
Oh, no.
I would like to echo.
Always enjoy it, and always enjoy driving my Cadillac.
Exactly. I would like to echo what Cyber Fuchs said, as caddyinfo.com is now the world's largest chat and conversation site for the classic registered Duke models. That we have the most Duke owners anywhere in the world since 1986 when the Dukes were in production on the Caddy Info site, which amuses me to no end. I do get my Duke out when it's a sunny day and I have time. I'll get it out to run to a restaurant or to run do an errand, and so it's getting good use. It is still for sale, but it's getting good use in the meantime. And I've had the 6 tires and wheels for sale that I got to get back busy getting them sold. We're going to be running physical inventory at the store this week, so it's going to be fascinating to see how that turns out. We got 6. We've got people coming in to help us with that, but we actually could use some more people to come in and help us with that. So if you're local, holler at me, and we're going to be paying $10 an hour ahead for people to help us with physical inventory. Okay, but thank you for being on, Jim. I'm going to hit stop broadcast and then hold on just a second.